Hi, I'm Jen Williamson, the host of the Unshakeable Family Series. Today's special guest is Marcy Stoudt. Marcy is an executive coach and passionate about inspiring others. Marcy co-founded Revel Coach, which is an inspirational platform designed to create a community of women who believe in success both personally and professionally. I love that. Oh, my sweet spot. So, for the past 25 years, she has worked with hundreds of women and executives in a variety of roles. Marcy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Jen. I am in love with this conversation and how you're shaping, a story around how we build relationships and family relationships so that we all thrive. It's just such a beautiful topic. So thank you for including me.
I'm so happy to have you here. One of the things that I really see with you and your sister, and I'm bringing in your sister because the two of you really created this company together. But the backbone of it is that it's better together. And I see you with your business and from now knowing you in your home life as well. So let's talk about the better together concept.
That's great. Well, it really came from my sister and I. We had we had the very same upbringing with core values and family experience. And as we graduated from college, she went down one path with her career and her family, and I went down another. And so as sisters, we always worked together and like mentored each other in different scenarios because we have different strengths that we could pull together. And we were at this point where she had her writing coaching business and ghostwriting business and as a professor. And I was at the time staying home for probably about a year and a half after about 22 years in corporate America. And we were just brainstorming different ideas of what we could do for my career and then for her career as we were reinventing ourselves as we're kind of getting closer to that age 50. And a lot of us like to reinvent ourselves at that point. And every time we talked, we just kept saying, let's just better together. Let's just do something. It's better together. And with that, we launched our company, and we have found in this space that we're playing with other female entrepreneurs and women executives that believe in success that includes work and family. It has been so wonderful to meet other women that just want to inspire and be inspired. They want to mentor and share because it really is better together.
It is better together. And we have a lot of men that watch this show too. So for the men that are watching, really like listen to this because this will give you an understanding from a woman's perspective, but also, your wife may want to watch this series as well, or follow Marcy and Allison as well, because they really are inspirational. And I love what you've done. You've created a true community. And I just think that's so important.
Thank you. And speaking of men, my sister and I always talk about this. Our business Revel Coach is targeted for women who do believe in success as a mom and as a career. But we both have two sons, and my corporate career was pretty much I was the only female vice president. So I truly believe and value, all genders, all people. And so while Revel Coach is, dedicated towards women and leadership, we absolutely know the value of parents and people that believe in success in all facets of their life.
So you mentioned the word leadership, which is really one of my favorite words. I joined the Navy at 18 and just had really great examples of what it meant to be a great leader and what it meant to not be a great leader. So I want your opinion, and I already know I already know the general direction that you're going to go with this. How much do you think being a parent, being a spouse, being the best version of yourself is really leadership?
It has to go hand in hand because leadership is kind of a broad category of how you show up for another.
Yeah.
And some of the best teachers in our lives don't actually have a title, teacher, boss. They actually have a title that, your children teach you many things, many lessons you learn from your children if you allow yourself open enough to listen to them. But your spouse is the one you're building everything with. And if you just go through life in a rushed way and just kind of start living your family values and doing, certain things, it's easy for you to kind of just metamorph into something. But you really bring true leadership and learn from your spouse and learn, what are the traits we're trying to build with our family? What's the experience we want to give with our family? I do find that leadership comes from the home, and that shapes how we lead in other parts of our lives.
Okay. Okay, leadership starts at the home, guys. Like that is like, we didn't even have a conversation about this, but I already knew that that would be like a perfect question for you. Leadership starts at the home. That is so important. So many people want to improve their businesses, but their businesses will never outgrow their home life. That is so important. And guess what, guys? Your home life will never outgrow your own personal development as well. So really, really listen to what Marcy's saying, because that right there is a golden nugget. I knew that I could just ask you that and you'd throw out a golden nugget. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So, so I want to speak to the people that are now jangled, okay? Because I speak with people every day. I'm constantly coaching people, both with the real estate and with the life coaching, that really are having a hard time with their mindset. And like you talk about like how we can shape our memories and how we can plan for the future. Like that's really what's in our control. So let's speak into that, Marcy.
I think we all know the problem that goes on with negative self-talk, and that negative voice that comes up maybe 20 times too often in a day. If you learn how to kind of have that positive self-talk, a lot of things work for you. And when it comes to your children, the best advice I had was from our mother. When I had at this point, my daughter was probably 8 months old, and my sister's kids my nephews were about 8 and 5. And unfortunately, her husband was on his last few weeks of battling with Lou Gehrig's disease. And so my sister had like pretty, strong concerns about her boys that were having this, tougher life, because they watched for the last 3 years their dad go from this major in the Marine Corps to 90 pounds in a wheelchair and can't speak. But my mom was sharing with my sister, she was like, Allison, don't worry about, what your kids are experiencing. You're in charge of shaping your children's memories. And of course, my sister is at a point where she's like, what? I'm not sure what I understand. And so she just walked her through asking her questions like, well, do you remember when you were 8 years old? My sister, like, she thought of a memory and she really only could think of one. And when she thought of that one memory, there was a ton of texture. Like I was in the other room overhearing my mom give this advice to my sister. And I remembered like the smell in my grandmother's living room. I remember the song we were dancing to. And I really remembered that memory. And my mom said, so Allison, you're telling me you only have one memory from when you're 8 years old. And you know what? You have that memory because we have that picture in our living room. We talked about it. When your cousins come over, we talk about that story. And that's your favorite memory from growing up because it's what I wanted. I wanted you to know your family. I wanted you to know that life was going to be fun and you were going to love it with your family. So my mom says, you shaped your kids' memories. So tonight, which happened to be that night, was my brother-in-law's 40th birthday party, a big surprise party, had all these people flying in from out of town. And some of the guys he hadn't seen since college were probably 15 years or so. And she's like, tonight, you got an opportunity to celebrate. Let's not make this a funeral. That could be in a couple of months. Right now, we want your boys to experience what Pat is all about and have joy with his friends and, let them see how special their dad was because he was so loved. And let's just throw a great party. And so with that, really one of my nephew's favorite memories was that 40th birthday party, despite what was going on, the other days and about a month later.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That like literally brings tears to my eyes. Literally brings tears to my eyes. It's so powerful that you shared that, especially now, because as parents, we get to shape the memories in our family. We really get to do that. We get to, if we see a spouse or a child, that's maybe watching something that they shouldn't be, or just like not vibrating where we know they could be, we get to have a conversation with that and like get them back on track and create these memories, like really good memories.
Yeah. And one of the exercises I do with my clients, so a lot of the women that I work with are in executive leadership roles, and they're within 18 months of maternity leave. So often it might be their third maternity leave, or, they might have a few kids. And we do this exercise where I just have them pull out their iPhone or, whichever device they have for pictures. And I just said, text me an everyday moment, like just anything from your camera roll that's an everyday moment. And they'll send me a picture, and it could be, their daughter laying on the couch, or their, just fun pictures that you can imagine that's on your camera roll that you wouldn't be using for, marketing or anything like that. And I said, tell me about this story. And they tell a quick little story, and it's kind of simple. And then we go to the next stage and we start saying, well, let's go back to a few weeks ago. We were working on the core values of your family. And what are you really trying to teach your family? And they'll remember certain things like be kind is a big thing they're trying to teach their family. Have confidence that you can do anything you want, set goals. And they'll say these types of things. And then we parallel that exact same picture of, say, a daughter laying on the couch, and dogs are kind of sitting right there. It's a very simple photo. And we quickly start paralleling the story from that photo and how it ties directly into values that they're teaching. And they start seeing that same picture of an everyday moment in a powerful way that they're like, wow, this is my story. This is my everyday. And when you start working purposefully like that, a lot of us, we get busy. It's a busy world. And you give yourself a little negative self-talk, like, am I teaching my kids value? Are they clear on our values? And you realize that you have everyday moments that you're teaching these values, and you just start shaping the memories because you're reinforcing, hey, we love when you're laying on the couch because you were working so hard at your practice that we know that you are exhausted. So you lay it on the couch. Like you can kind of shape stories that are always reinforcing your value, just be very purposeful in how you shape the memories, and that it's consistent with what you want your family to know and believe and belong to.
So good. I love that you use the word purposeful, because, Will and I were talking about this just this morning, and it's really about the way of being so much more than the way of doing, right? I mean, it's like we're just in this doing world. But when we ground ourselves in the way of being, and like you said, with our family core values, for us, we have a family contract that we say every day, and like to anchor in it, right? Just to anchor in it. It being can be the picture on the couch, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the tone, it's the feeling, and we as parents, as leaders, really get to create that. I think that that's just really beautiful. I love that you do that.
So the favorite part I have about having a business like this is all day long, I just work with these power women that are doing these phenomenal things. And it gives you kind of that growth mindset because you learn from everyone. So Jen, I have to ask you, can you tell us more about the family contract? That sounds like such a cool approach. I know you have older kids too, so that's even more powerful.
So we have individual ones. So remember, as I mentioned before, we get to be strong. We get to lead ourselves to be the best versions of ourselves, because I can't be the best wife or the best mother if I'm not showing up my best. So every day I have a very strong morning routine, and prayer is part of it. And after prayer, I write it down, my personal contract. It's only 3 words. I am a loving, powerful, connected leader. So that's who I am. And that's the essence that I want to be. And I ground in that. And then Willie and I have one that we came up with together. And for us, we are a loving, kind, and we have a loving, kind, and patient marriage. And every one of those words, like we really spent time massaging it, and even massaging the order. And then we went into, that was working so well. We were grounding in the 2 together. We say them together every day. After we together pray. And then we were like, this is working so well. Let's do a family contract. So each person in our family picked a word. And again, we massaged it. We massaged the order until we came up with it. And for us, we are a loving, godly, resilient, joyful family. And we say it every day. So we're just really anchored in these things. And, like you said, it's being purposeful. It's not you're not going to accidentally drift into being the best version of yourself, or accidentally drift into having an incredible marriage or having an incredible home. It's very intentional, as you know, purposeful. I hear you say that word all the time, and I'm putting hearts around you each time you say it.
Well, I'm so glad I asked. I love that contract. And I love that you have different contracts, one for yourself, one for your marriage, one for your family, because everyone has that slight nuance. And, with your spouse, having patience is really important, because like we were saying in the beginning, if you are learning and truly in that place of a growth mindset, husbands and wives will have different experiences, different expectations, and different approaches on how they bring the family value and what's expected of them for the day. They'll have different approaches to doing it. So without that word patience, it's almost impossible for a marriage not to get filled with judgment,
Yeah.
because the patience come from seeing the results of how it's working for him or for her, and not kind of losing each other in that frustration and not having patience and just, sprinting through it. And then each of you trying to, you know, push through on your own instead of together, like with that contract. I love that.
It's better together, right?
It's better together.
Like you said, we all have different ways that we show up for our family. So, and to really understand like our main roles. And this way we can kind of give grace if somebody isn't where we think they should be. So like, for example, Willie, he's a protector like that. Like if like, that's what we all came up with. Like, that's kind of the seat that he sits in. He's the protector. I am I'm a big peacekeeper. I'm a uniter by nature. Like, that's who I am. That's the seat that I sit in. Zoe is very prayerful. Like, anytime there's anything, she's like, let's say a prayer. So she's the prayer warrior. And Zach is just like absolute pure joy 100% of the time. So we kind of just remember our seats, and not to say that Zach might not have a bad day and I get to step into pure joy, or Willie, but it's really deepened our relationships. Like, we're going deep is really made a difference.
And once you start putting them in that category, when they show up in that category, so say your son that just brings the joy, and you're having maybe a more stressful moment at the time for whatever that may be. Well, when he comes and brings the joy, it could feel like a mishit. Like, how could you be thinking we want to, do that joyful, frivolous thing when we've got all this burden going on over here? But once you know who he is and expect him to show up, you're like, thank God we have you, because we're so stressed out over here. We need you to bring the joy. And, life should be fun. And we're so grateful you're in our space. So then that way, when we're taking on this kind of serious, real world scenario, we have someone to kind of balance it out.
Yeah. And we were really intentional. And I know that we talked about this on our phone conversation. Like, we were intentional. Like, how are we going to experience this? Because guess what, guys? Every one of our kids is going to really remember this. Like, really remember this. So this, what you were talking about with your brother-in-law and the surprise party, like we get to shape those memories. I love that you say that, because if we're intentional, like you're saying, we can really make this something else, because to have this time together is really a gift, right?
It really is. And the one mistake that I find that's so subtle with parents and building the relationship and accidentally not shaping their memory is, a lot of times, obviously as a parent, you need to teach your kids a lot. You need to teach them to look both ways. There's safety protocols you're teaching your kids. So after a while, that just becomes, you go from not being a mom to being a mom to telling your kids everything they need to do because they don't know how to do it. You're teaching it. But at what point are they old enough to experience and learn and make decisions on their own? I think it's about 10 years earlier than we give them credit. And so as parents, we tend to start, do this, don't do that, do great in school. You tell them their experience. And so when parents will say, I'll do anything for my kids, and I'll see the parent and what they're doing, and I'll be like, except letting them be them. Because you're going to be, all three of my kids are so uniquely different, and it's wonderful. We're the same parents, and they have different personality traits. And so if you don't foster and really respect your kids' approach to life, they'll miss out on really defining who they want to be and who they are in their pivotal years when they're in your house. So I just love the idea of knowing your kids, trusting them, and having the expectations that they should stand up in their authentic self a lot sooner than we give them credit.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So I have boy-girl twins that are 20 now. And literally by the age of 1, we could already see that they were wired very different. Zoe would get the stacking toys perfect. Zach, who's more loosely wound, the type B, he'd mess him up. She'd wait for him and she'd crawl back over and put him back together.
Probably drive her crazy.
Right. he's the musician. He had the beat early on. Like it's who they are. And we also get to be mindful to make sure we're not comparing. They
Mhm.
are literally wired differently. God created them beautifully and uniquely. And, we get to really, I think, shine a spotlight on what they do well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and they always say comparison is the thief of joy. So as
Oh,
parents, not comparing them, especially with twins, it'd be easy to say he's walking, she's not, or she's studying and he's not. That comparison is not purposeful, accidental, but comparison does it kind of strips a lot of self-confidence if if you don't have a lot of strong character and positive self-talk.
Marcy, that is so good. And I really want to just say that again because I see actually Willie picked it. Willie, my husband, sits over here and he takes notes. And I saw him grab the pen as soon as you said that. Golden nugget, guys. Comparison is the thief of joy. Wow. I mean, really. And watch this. We're talking about siblings. Okay. And you and I talk about how it's really the home and the business, right? We want to be at an 11 with both of them. But comparison is the thief of joy. It applies to our children. But guess what? It applies to us. It applies to us professionally. It's same with us personally. It's all congruent, the things that we're talking about, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you kind of put an exponential, um, you know, you put an exclamation point on the subject of comparison when everything is public. Like your class rank for teens is public, your social media, how many likes you get. There's a lot I love about social media, but the one thing I always advise my clients is everything you do before you start, know what your intention is. So if you're going on social media and you start seeing, like in this coaching space, there's a lot of, it's a crowded space, and I love it because the fact that there's so many people that want to give and help people be grounded, and they just do in their own unique way that helps their clients. So it's easy to get on social media and start comparing, oh, she's doing this or she's doing this or saying this. And if you compare it in the negative of like more self-doubt, like, well, I'm not, and I don't, and oh no, I should, versus comparing in this inspiration way. I go to my social media, and our business, we chose to do a referral based, so our social media is not as much of a priority for us because we really want our community that we're building to be referrals with the right type of women that believe in mentorship. So I get on social media, and I always kind of take a deep breath, and I'm like, all right, let me find the inspiration, and I follow the hashtags of other executive coaches, and I just see so many inspiring women that are doing beautiful things, and I compare to the positive. I'm like, that's awesome, and it gives me kind of like an extra little like motivation to do something more. But it's really a delicate balance because it's very easy for you to go in and be like, oh, we should be taking more vacations as a family, or we should, instead of I choose, and this is what I want to do. So I do, we do a lot of work on making sure the comparison is in check and in a healthy manner.
Well, and that's so good that you're bringing that up because we not only do we get to monitor that with ourselves, but we also get to teach our children healthy relationships with the social media and the comparison, because you and I both know there's a lot of like really fake, like, look at my life, it's all perfect. And Willie and I have actually intentionally, because we get the perfect family comments, and I had a friend over in tears one day saying that she wanted to create what we created, and I said, wait, I said, you're seeing the tip of the iceberg, and it still takes work. It is choice, it is intentional. Like these things that we do, we really, really are purposeful about it because we can drift into bad habits otherwise, but the comparison part, a lot of what we see is not really reality. As a matter of fact, a dear friend of mine said to me, she said, have you ever met one of the people that you idolized or like mentored off of? And I was like, not really. And she said, don't. She said, because it can really crush things when you see the behind the scenes. Interesting.
It is interesting. And it's like, to your friend that comes over, she doesn't realize how close she is to having that same perfect family, perfect dream, because, like I do with that moments conversation, you pull up some pictures of the last couple of weeks, and there's for sure a moment that she's just not taking time to recognize that it was an opportunity to further her plan for her family. And if you don't like what's on your roll, every day is a new day. So you can see that friend that has, the perfect family, doing things really perfectly, doing it right. And if you have the right mindset, you say, how do you do it?
Yeah.
And you learn contracts, and you go home, and it's a 30-minute conversation to figure out the first contract or start the conversation around it. So every day is new. And what I love is when you do see people, kind of putting out their best self, you look at it and be like, well, I like their best self, and what can I learn from them? And it's a positive comparison versus a I'm not enough comparison.
So good. So I know something else that we talked about was like really being intentional about like who we are spending time with, and like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I love that you said that. So so let's talk about that, because this is really important to us, because because we want to the goal is to get like a little bit better every day.
Mm-hmm.
Teach our kids a little bit better every day. So let's talk about the 5 closest people that we're around and the importance of that.
I'm not sure where to begin, because the number 5, we happen to have 5 in our family, and we are under quarantine right now. So the 5 most important people I am with all the time. So I do feel like that expression, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It's something that most parents, we curate the play dates, we curate the right school, we curate a lot of that situation. And somehow we forget to curate it for ourselves as adults. And it's really important to build this community that you connect to, they inspire you, and you get the choice. So some of our entrepreneurs, they're so scrambling over finances, like they really want to get things started and they're muscling so hard. And what they accidentally do is they say yes to prospects that are not a match for who they are. So then they have these clients that they're spending, more time. Maybe you might, depending on the contract, you might be spending 5 hours a day with them every single day, and they're just not a match. So you have to be purposeful in who you're marketing, who you choose as a client, how you choose to have those relationships, because we only get one chance at this life. So you might as well be with people that fill you up versus kind of be that energy drain.
So good. So good. You are full of so much wisdom, so much goodness. So I want to ask you, what pieces of advice would you give to the audience?
Oh, there's so many. So I would say this is as simple as I can make it, but revel in the moments. Life is better when you're having fun. And when you think about your kids and you think about wanting to build a relationship, kind of start your day or any interaction with like really just, it doesn't take long, like take 30 seconds, one deep breath, and be like, what do I really want out of this interaction? And when you find yourself, say you really want your kids to help with chores, okay, and that's kind of the result you want. But when you actually take that breath, look within, connect it with your core values, it's like, what do I really want out of this, this interaction? You're like, I want the kids to know they should do the right things. I want the kids to know that helping another feels good and they should do the right thing. And you'll find yourself going into that conversation instead of creating like negative feelings of guilt or here you go again, or just some sort of negative repeatable interaction, reaction. You go in with like the right level of intent, and you find these words that just inspire them to do the right things. And as you do that, God gave you 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. Listen, they might have a legitimate reason why they weren't able to do that chore. And it's important for you to be a little flexible, because if you are trusting your kids to do the right things and earning their respect earlier than you believe they're capable, you'll find yourself finding the right times to have that patience and respect of how they do it. And, as a result, your kids will, they show up because they want to be a part of of the family, impress their parents.
That's so good. I love that, because we really give them, like, we create the environment for them doing it. So if we're like, I told you to unload the dishwasher, you're not going to unload the dishwasher joyfully, but like,
Right.
Hey gang, let's knock out the dishwasher. We're about to start dinner. Like that's like, oh, let's all be together. Like it's the fuel, it's the come from that we really, really get to be intentional about. And that's
Mhm.
where for us and our family, anchoring in our morning, the way we start our morning, because as you know, the way we do anything is the way we do everything. Anchoring in that really, really allows us to be very purposeful, like you said.
Oh, that's great. And it's so true because nobody really enjoys unloading the dishwasher. But if you do it with that anchored purpose,
Yeah.
um, we all have to do something, we all have to contribute,
Yeah.
and everybody loves an organized, happy house. So why be a lot of the parents accidentally step in this role of being a nag, and none of us like that part. So
It doesn't.
get intentional. Yeah.
So good. Well, I'm so glad that we had this time together, Marcy. I know that the audience is going to want to online. You're a powerful woman. You've created an incredible community. Where can they find you online?
Well, revelcoach.com, Revel, coach.com. And, we're on Instagram. You can find me via our website, but we would love to connect with your users. And Jen, thank you so much for this conversation. I absolutely love talking with you. I feel like you've got so much insight and heart, and there's so much to be learned with just your approach to doing things. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. And we're very much in alignment. So I'm really excited that I get to share you with the audience. So thank you again and have a
Right.
wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.